Poised for Exit is a show for business owners who want to achieve a successful exit based on their own terms. Your business exit will likely be the biggest financial transaction of your life, and for most, you'll have one shot at doing it right. The topics and guests we feature and the stories they share will provide valuable ideas and strategies to improve operations and grow enterprise value so you can achieve the best possible exit outcome. Now here's your host, award-winning certified exit planning advisor, Julie Keys.
Welcome everyone to Poised for Exit, the exit planning podcast show. Today's guests are colleagues in the practice areas of trust and wealth management. They work for the same firm, but in different roles and in different locations. Yet they collaborate a lot. So we're going to talk about professional collaboration internally within a firm. They work with a lot of business owners and they've got some great stories to share. So please stay with us.
Right now, there's a record number of buyers looking for businesses, and many businesses are selling at a premium. To get a free, confidential business valuation so you'll know what your business might be worth, contact a broker at Sunbelt Business Advisors at 612-455-0880. We're Minnesota's largest seller of companies. Let us help you maximize your life's work. Call 612-455-0880 or visit sunbeltmidwest.com.
Are you looking to add enterprise value to your business through effective marketing? At Evolve Systems, we craft custom marketing strategies designed to achieve your goals. Our comprehensive approach covers everything from branding and digital awareness to advanced lead generation tools. Positioning a business to sell in today's M&A market is not only challenging, but can be difficult without the right marketing strategy. We capture your ideal audience with clear and effective brand messaging that drives more deal customers. Let's evolve your business together. Reach out to us at 651-628-4000 or visit evolve-systems.com to start the conversation today.
Selling your business may be the furthest thing from your mind, but that doesn't mean you should wait to plan. At TrustPoint, we understand the nuances that come with selling a business and are here to guide you. From unlocking tax efficiencies to minimizing risk, we'll develop the strategies to ensure you're prepared. So, when the time arrives, you'll be ready to enjoy the best years of your life. Learn more at TrustPointInc.com. That's TrustPointinc.com.
Hello, Poised for Exit listeners. We are here to welcome Randy Van Rooyen and Jon Marquet with TrustPoint. Gentlemen, welcome to Poised for Exit.
Great to see you, Julie. Thanks so much for having us on today.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you could be with me. I know you're coming to me from different locations here and we're recording virtually, but it's so nice that we could make this work. And I've had great collaboration and affiliation with TrustPoint now for a few years and really enjoyed that and enjoy working with you guys and getting to know your firm and just have great respect for you. So I'm happy to have you here. And I'd like to start by just having the two of you share a little bit about yourself. Like, how did you get to where you are for a minute or two? And then maybe just another minute or two on the services that TrustPoint offers its clients.
Okay, I'll jump right in. Randy Van Rooyen. I've been with TrustPoint for 26 years and in the industry for 30. But, my background comes from more of the investment management perspective, so portfolio manager perspective. I led the investment management group within TrustPoint for a good majority of that 26 years. And now more currently, I find myself doing a lot of different things. You work for the same company for long enough and you get a lot of opportunities. My title has strategic relationships in it. So that's what I do. Anything around TrustPoint, all things TrustPoint, working on telling our story, sharing our thoughts about the markets, working with clients and referral sources, those types of things. I think throughout today, you'll see I come from the portfolio manager standpoint, but it's really migrated into a lot of other things.
Fabulous. Yeah, I love that strategic relationships. That's cool.
And I'm Jon Marquet. I am the retirement plan consultant at TrustPoint. And I've been with TrustPoint a lot shorter time period, about 2.5 years. But before I joined TrustPoint, I practiced law for about 21 years. And my route to TrustPoint really ran through the firm. I became the chairperson of what we called our pension and profit sharing committee. And I got very interested in it. And that led me to seek out opportunities in the employer-based retirement plan world. I got connected with some folks at TrustPoint, and it's really been a wonderful fit for me for these last 2.5 years.
You're liking it better than practicing law?
They're different. It's certainly more fun, and I've been enjoying it quite a bit.
Sure. Yeah. Well, and I'm sure that it's helpful to have that background too, right? Because you can apply that in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, no
Yeah,
question. Legal
for
things
sure.
come up all the time. I don't not practicing law anymore. Let's be 100% clear there. But that
Sure.
kind of thinking, that kind of analysis, really applies in our industry.
Yeah, for sure. So, real quick on the services, TrustPoint's pretty unique. It's definitely not vanilla in terms of the variety of services that you deliver. Like, I honestly, I know there's competitors out there, but I think that you've got a lot of differentiators. So let's just talk about that before we get into the questions.
Yeah, that's a great opportunity to talk about that. TrustPoint has its roots all the way back 111 years, and
Wow.
it started in LaCrosse, Wisconsin. We have locations in Minneapolis as well as Eau Claire, Wisconsin. And I guess the way I explain it is we grew up as a trust company, so administering trusts, settling estates, those types of things. But we really matured over the years into a wealth management firm. So certainly, if you think about competitors, there's a lot of wealth management variations out there. But we still have that niche and that experience from what it takes. I like to call it the trustee level of fiduciary duty. And you can
Hmm.
take it that way it is, but I think it helps explain where we come from in anything we do. We're an independent, privately owned company. So we leverage that independence to be unbiased and transparent with the financial services we provide. I think from that perspective, we think our clients know that when we recommend something, when we give advice, it's for their best interest, not because we'll get paid more or less, but really what's best for their situation.
And you've got let's say, for instance, I'm a younger startup investor. And so you developed a division for the young people getting started. Is it called Remerge 360? Is that right? And then you got your whole family business category too, where, I mean, family
That's
office.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, Emerge
it's
was a great addition for us. We have, and John can speak to this, but we have a decent part of our business in 401k plans. So the idea of helping those individuals that I guess you could call them accumulators, to invest and grow wealth. And then, as you mentioned, our family office is located in our Minneapolis office, and obviously they're supporting those multi-generational families, high net worth, those types of things. That extra services for the extra complexity of their own situation.
Well, we've got a lot of advisors that listen to this show, and I don't know that they knew that you had a family office, so it's good for them to know that you do. So let's see, locations: Minneapolis, Eau Claire, and LaCrosse, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One
Yep.
thing I do want to add to the description, and you kind of hit it at the top, is we're made up of a lot of different folks with a lot of different credentials and a lot of different expertise. Part of our wheelhouse is to really bring all those people to the table to help our clients, right? So we're bringing the right people at the right time to help our clients in the right way. And I think you're right. That is a little bit unusual for a wealth management firm. And I think it
Yeah.
makes us different. And I think it's a real positive for our clients. And it allows us to work in areas and develop relationships with our clients that are really deep, really extensive, and allows us to get involved in things like exit planning. When we
Right.
work with our individuals, families, businesses, business owners, nonprofits, whoever it might be, we can really bring that collaborative mindset, collaborative working model to the table to help people.
And you work with a lot of nonprofits, that's right. And the two of you both acquired your CEPA credential not too long ago. So you're both certified exit planners, which hats off. I think that's really smart.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very much a
Mhm.
natural fit for us. Yes.
Yeah, it is because of the fact that you do work with so many business owners. So tell me, now that you've both become certified exit planners, how has that changed your approach? Not necessarily with prospects, but maybe. I'm thinking more along the lines of your current clients. Like, you've got all of these other services, and now you've added that on, which, makes so much sense. Tell me about what that looks like now.
Yeah, I'll go first. For me, as I said before, it is a natural progression. I think when I think about the business owners we work with, there's certainly some that we've worked with for a long time, and they can be in all different stages and all different paths as when it comes to exit planning itself. But what I found is that not only have some of our newer clients, we come into their situation either very close to or after a liquidity event. And I'm not complaining about that by any means, but as you work through that, and really a large part of my job as portfolio manager was to help retired business owners get comfortable with relying on their investment assets for a living. Because you think about it, I can go on and on. These are business savvy people, hardworking, successful. They know how to run their business. They've had challenges. They've had successes. They know what levers to pull and surround themselves with good people, of course. But when it comes to that liquidity event, that changes tremendously.
Right.
And it's a totally different. And if they're not prepared, if there's no planning, not only personally, but even for the value of the company and all those things that exit planning entails, it can be a real challenge. And I know from what you do, you've seen that from coaching business owners and before and after. Even if they think they know what they want to do, got to go down that with them and make sure that they really understand that if it's traveling, you don't travel all year long. You got to have other things to do. Yeah, that's where for me, it's being a little bit more curious. Now with the CEPA background, it's asking questions about the business and those types of things that really help. Generally speaking, just be more common and help them understand that ability to live off of their assets that they've managed to accumulate.
Right.
Yeah.
And lifestyle maintenance and all that. Yeah. Sorry, John.
Yeah, that's okay. And I really think Randy hit it on the head when he said it was a natural fit and natural extension of our business to seek the CEPA designation, because really we've been having these conversations with our clients and with prospects for many years, right? The topic, the situation isn't new to us. We've been engaging in this kind of conversation with our clients for a long time, basically because that's how we do business, right? As we said already a couple times, we develop relationships, we get to know people, their businesses, and find places we can help and add value. And this has been and will be one of those places, I think, for a while. And so we really, at least for my part, decided to take the courses and pursue the designations after we had some meetings with you, Julie. And that was really helpful in showing us that it might be helpful to put a little more structure around some of this, learn some additional language, maybe learn some new ideas, new approaches, things to say and discuss with people. And for me, at least, it's been interesting and helpful to, one, engage with the CEPA community, and then two, take some of those ideas, take some of those approaches and apply it to what we've sort of already been doing with our clients and prospective clients, sort of raising those topics and discussing them with folks, just with a little bit new language sometimes with a little bit new approach.
And so to put that from my perspective, just going more upstream on this whole process rather than, as I said, we find out after the sale, after the event. Let's provide the resources and knowledge we have and other professionals to put a team together. And so I just want to make that we're interested in moving upstream and being part of the overall evolution for business owners.
Well, you can just help them have a better outcome, when you've got time to actually plan, as we know, right? We've talked about that. And the more time you have, the more you're able to, help them to make really good, solid decisions. So I'm really happy for you guys. I think it's going to be amazing for TrustPoint as an organization and the two of you as, advisors within the organization. So, welcome to the club. So like day to day, I know we kind of talked a little bit about that before, but I'm sure that you're running into more situations, right? Because it's almost like you got your ears on, right? Before you were talking about exit planning, but it wasn't maybe as intentional, and now it is. And you've, like you said, you kind of changed, your terminology a little bit, added it more intentionally. And so situations maybe have come up. Let's talk about maybe a recent situation. We kind of discussed this before the show started, and it sounds like an interesting story for you to share.
Sounds good. We definitely recently had a situation that required some pretty extensive management. We had conversations with a business owner. This was in the manufacturing sector. Some time ago, he met with us to vet us as a trustee and actually ended up naming us in some estate planning documents, but never confirmed, never let us know that he named us in the documents. And that happens all the time, right? That's not unusual at all.
Sure.
And after that, we reached out, but it never really took us up on the offer to discuss or do any planning at that point in time. It seemed like he just wasn't ready.
Yeah, it's a good start, but it was a really complicated situation. But with that, of course, see this between the lines. One of those 5Ds happened, and he unfortunately, unexpectedly passed away. And we do see this as a trust company fairly often, but each one has its own obviously facts and set of circumstances. But he really didn't, as Jon said, didn't want to engage throughout after me missing a document. So simply, I think from maybe trying to put myself in that mindset, it's like, hey, I got my state documents done, check the box. Now I go on to doing my day-to-day work in the business. And I think that's what really what likely happened is he just felt comfortable that if something happens, it's taken care of. But there's so much more planning that can happen, and that really does follow the benefit of exit planning.
Yeah, and this was, Julia, a really significant growing business, but unfortunately it was a business really without a meaningful executive or administrative team. And I'm sure you've seen that before, where what you really have is an owner who's wearing too many hats and
Yes.
really doing too much, right? There was no CFO here. There was really no right-hand person that understood the business the way the owner did. And so when the owner died, obviously there was a ton going on and a ton of sort of institutional knowledge that died with him, unfortunately. And this is when you're getting into the estate, and that's sort of the avenue that we took into the situation. The business, of course, is the most complex item, most complex issue, includes a variety of probate and non-probate assets. It really does, to Randy's point, require advanced planning is far better than planning on the fly, which is what we ended up doing here. Now, we're able to do that for a lot of the reasons we talked about earlier, that collaboration. But to Randy's point, if we had those conversations right at the start, we would have been in a better position right from the get-go.
Yeah, that's a good point, Jon. I think in my mind, this is where kind of exit planning and estate settlement or estate planning really do overlap, not in the same sequence. Obviously, we were talking about earlier, planning is better, but this is now we have a business that's in an estate that has to be dealt with. So our job with any estate settlement is really to dig right in and get our arms around what's all involved, what assets the deceased had, those types of things. The discovery phase, I guess you could call it. And this particular one, sometimes that discovery phase is fairly straightforward, but this particular one seemed to last a little longer, or at least when you thought you were done, you discovered more assets, more circumstances, more things like that. So it was very complex. But, so as we worked through that, we found even other businesses that were there.
Sure.
We found other personal assets and other homes that they had that only the owner knew about. He was the only one that knew about it. So it was, and then even from that standpoint, some advisors were involved, but nothing that was, it was a little bit here and there, nothing that was complex or complete. Interested in taking over, and ultimately our job was to, let me back up. We found that there was no employees or family that had interest in continuing on with the business. So ultimately we had to look to sell. And not only sell, but get it in a position to sell, which sounds awfully familiar, like what you do on a lot. Maybe, I would be curious, and ideally, how long would you like to have to do your strategic business planning with a company and get it ready for sale? I guess years, right?
Well, a couple of years would be good, because I imagine that they'd have to have a new interim leader brought in, and that person's got to get themselves up to speed. And it depends on what the wishes of the family are. Maybe they could have found someone who could have been a long-term leader, and they could have retained a company, right? So those are some of the things that maybe could have been decided, but if they would have known what his wishes were and there would have been some planning done ahead of time, then a lot of that could have been prevented, like you said.
And, I'm sure you see this too. It is a family-run business, so they had unique circumstances with employees, kind of those intangibles or those helping them out, transportation, housing, those types of things. So it was interesting, to say the least. But yeah, ultimately the goal was, what we found was, we have to get this company ready for sale.
Yeah. So then, did you guys collab? Sorry, I was just going to say, did you bring the team together, like the outside advisors? And sorry, go ahead, Jon.
Yeah, that's a mind meld going on there. That's exactly where I was going, right? So we dove in and brought everybody to the table, right? As we're going through this discovery process, we're starting to bring different people to the table, and basically we're starting to coordinate, we're starting to quarterback, to use maybe an overused term in the industry, but we're starting to quarterback the process and move it along and really move it towards, as Randy said, a sale on favorable terms, but at the same time, getting a team together, getting a fractional CFO in there, moving the business to a place where it's transferable, right? Where the business doesn't reside just in the owner, where there's something to sell. And so we were getting that together and helping to move that along. And I think it's fair to say that the process was more expensive and more labor intensive because of the lack of that early planning. And because it was a longer and more intensive kind of process, in this particular instance, the competitors saw blood in the water. They were aware of some of these issues with the, lack of depth in the management team, we'll say. So they went after some of the customer base. They were able to make some traction there. And that allowed what was the ultimate buyer, private equity group, to push the closing a little bit and make some, pretty decent arguments for a lower sales price. So that that's just a way to say that you're getting into that collaboration, but the lack of doing it early makes it kind of a longer, more intense process. And I'll just add there too, that another thing, and I'm sure we all recognize this, any advisor recognizes this, that trust between the advisor and all the players is absolutely critical. And when you're building trust as you go, it's a little bit more difficult. It can be done, and it was done here. Not to pat ourselves on the back too much, but I think we did a fantastic job of building that trust in order to get to a resolution. But of course, if you had done that initially, that trust would have built over time and been probably a less stressful process for the family, less difficult, a little less intense. And there's something to be said for trying to do that, to trying to reduce. You can't eliminate it, particularly in a situation like this where the owner died, but you could reduce it with a little additional planning.
Definitely. Yeah, good story. There's different things that maybe could have been done that would have eliminated, leaving some money on the table, right? And reducing stress in the family and all that, because business continuity is something that all owners need to be thinking about, right? Because anything can happen anytime. And so it's always good for us to be prepared. Well, I would love to hear more stories, but we've run out of time. And it goes so fast, doesn't it?
It sure does.
Yeah, it really does. But I just really appreciate having you guys on the show. I appreciate having TrustPoint as another sponsor of Poised for Exit. So thank you for supporting the show and supporting the people out there who listen to the show, business owners and other advisors. And we'll have to make sure and have you guys on the show again later in the year, because I'm sure there'll be more for us to talk about. But in the meantime, do you have any advice or takeaways that you'd like to have our listeners know before we go?
Yeah, I guess I'm going to say the same thing I've been saying the entire podcast, which is start planning today. And so in terms of like an action item, try to find an advisor and sit down with them in the next 90 days in Q1. Try to do that. And that doesn't mean you're immediately going to take action, but start to get involved in this process, start to learn a little bit about it, start to build a relationship potentially with somebody. Now, of course, I would love it if you called us and sat down with us, but regardless of who you do it with, try to do it in 90 days. And then you can take the process from there and hopefully get some real planning done.
Well, we'll have you guys highlighted in the show notes and on social media, so our listeners will be able to reach you very easily. Randy, any last comments from you?
I think Jon did a great job. The way I look at it is don't think of estate planning, don't think of exit planning, all those things as a transaction. It's not a one-time thing. It's not you're done. It's not check the box. It requires ongoing discussions, sharing what your desires are, sharing what the thought process is for the company, and all those things that go along with it. So it's really what Jon mentioned, but that's the way I look at it. Is it's an ongoing process, and it really can benefit not only the owners but obviously the heirs as well, and just the company that they work so hard to build.
I love that. It's not a check the box event. Very good. Well, thanks, guys. And thanks, listeners, for joining us. Please share this episode with your colleagues and your business owner friends, and join us again next time.